Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Gherkin. I'm a wedding filmmaker from Kansas City, Missouri. I like drinking Dr. Pepper and talking to a camera. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do in this third episode of 7 Days of Sunday. We are going to talk about comparison and why you shouldn't do it. Let's do it. Hey. Dr. Pepper. Okay. What do we got? What do we got today? Dr. Pepper. Yeah, it's a 4. Okay, so listen. Perfect. We're talking about comparison today. Yes, comparing yourself to others. Comparing your life to someone else's. Because apparently, we're still doing it. And we need to stop. Okay? Simple. Point blank simple. Stop. Comparison is by far the easiest way to kill your joy for something. Comparing yourself to somebody else in the same field of work, with the same artistry, with the same dish you made for dinner. Comparing yourself to somebody else is the fastest way to just absolutely shit on your hopes and dreams. I'm here to stop that. This is a part of the reason that I really don't like what Instagram has turned into, because Instagram has turned into less of who am I following and am I seeing those people on my homepage, and more into how can I keep you on this app for as long as humanly possible by showing you random people that you have never met before and you will never see again. It really bothers me because it oftentimes when you see those, it's more like they're showing you like the highlights. It's more like they're showing you like the best of the best. Obviously, because most of the time that you see those, they are the ones that went viral. So they're showing you the things that everybody has seen. Well, the problem with that is that sometimes that is essentially a highlight reel. Essentially a, hey, look how great my life is. Or at least look how it looks great. And the reason that I don't use social media as much anymore, the reason that I have a literal 10-minute timer per day of Instagram on my phone is because I don't want to find myself scrolling through everybody's feed and through everybody's highlight reels, essentially. I don't want to know all of that because that, for me personally, has completely killed my creativity before, and I'm not going to do that again. I don't want to do that again. Because I know for me that that's a problem. Seeing other people and their videos and their work is sometimes an issue. For me, being like, oh, I am never going to be as good as them. I'm never going to take photos like that. I'm never going to make a video like that. Like, I'm never going to be able to do that. And so I get in my head and then I don't want to make these. Well, that's an issue. So instead what I do is I come on, I post, and I leave. And that's the extent of my Instagram for the day. Creatives are especially vulnerable to this because you compare your work to somebody else's. We do this all the time. No matter what, you compare your work to somebody else's. I'm not a photographer. Not a photographer at all in the slightest. I don't know how to take photos, and every single one of my photographer friends, I have told that to their face. I don't know how to take photos. And yet still, I will go onto Instagram, I will see their beautiful array of photos because they do this for a living. Beautiful array of photos, and I'm like, I could never take photos like that. And you know what? That's fine because I'm not a photographer. I'm a videographer, I'm a filmmaker. I don't do photos. So it's fine. I don't need to take photos like that. But what's funny is that I know in the back of my mind, I know I don't need to do that. I'm not a photographer. They are. They have to do that. I don't. And yet still I find myself comparing myself to professional photographers who I will never, ever in my life be able to touch because I don't need to, because I don't want to, because I'm not a photographer. But I still find myself doing it. It's weird. It's a weird sensation. No matter what, we always compare our creative work to somebody else's. You see the milestones and the achievements and the awards or yada, 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 whatever, but you don't actually see anything that goes on behind the scenes. Nobody ever shows you the process of how you get there. You only see the little tiny sliver of people's lives when they allow you in. You don't see how much work it takes to make a video, to make a YouTube video, to build out a YouTube channel, to become a professional photographer, a professional videographer. You don't see how much work that takes. You only see the highlights. So when you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm doing so much work and I'm never gonna get to this point, well, that's not true because they also did that work. Now, because you people in the comment section are going to be coming for me, I'm not saying that everybody has the easiest and the same exact life. I'm not saying that everybody has an equal starting point. Let's just call it that. What I am saying is that when we are looking at the highlights, when we are looking at just one person's highlight reel. You cannot compare that to your highlight reel as of right now because you have no idea this situation. Going back to the pitchforks video, if you've not seen that, you should go watch it. People are more likely to respond with love than pitchforks. You should go watch that. One of my favorite Sunday rambles. Plugging a Sunday ramble during the 7 days of Sunday is the most ramble thing I could literally ever do. Love it. You should definitely go watch that one because I talk about how when you see a piece of art, sometimes your first instinct is to immediately judge that art, but you have to step back and you have to say, okay, let me look at the bigger picture of this. Do I know this person? How long has this person been doing this? You have to step back and allow yourself to look at that. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing, comparison. When you're comparing your work to somebody else's, think, okay, how long have they been doing this? What style do they use? What camera do they use? What kind of weddings do they shoot? You know, what kind of art do they create? Is it the same as my art? If not, then move on. Then stop comparing. Honestly, you should create like a little chart. We should get like a little chart. Is it acceptable to compare yourself to others? How long have they been doing this? That's bubble one. And then you just move down the list. The only problem is they all three will end up at no. It is never useful to compare yourself to others. You don't need to do it, you guys. You don't need to compare yourself to others. I had this thing on my Notion page for the longest time. When I logged in to Notion, I had reminders up in my this little box in my Notion page. And when I opened it, the first thing I saw were 3 little snippets regarding my favorite YouTubers. The first one was that Peter McKinnon is married with kids. Becky and Chris are in their 30s and have a full-time job. One of them is a doctor. Nicholas Crystal did not start his YouTube channel until he was 24. And there was these reminders for me that I had up there that was basically telling myself, if you're going to compare yourself to them, this is what you need to remember. You need to remember this. You need to remember that they did not start at the same time as you. They do not have the same camera as you. They do not have the same style as you. They have way different starting points than you did. And you have to remember that. Otherwise, you're going to go down this rabbit hole of thinking that you're never going to reach that point. You're never going to be good enough. But they themselves had to start all the way back there too. Everybody has to start at the bottom. Everybody has to start somewhere. No matter where it is, no matter where you're starting. And yes, some people do start higher than others. I will admit that. Some people do start higher than others. Some people are lucky enough to start further along in the journey, further along in the process than other people. But it also has to do with your innate talent, with your innate ability to be creative, with your innate ability to harness that creativity into something. How well can you pick up a camera? How easily can you pick up a new thing, a new hobby? There's so many factors that go into this. There's so many factors that go into every single person and human being that when you compare yourself to others, what are you even comparing at this point? Because the more that you sit down and the more that you think about it, and even the more that you talk to somebody about it, you're going to think like, oh, wow, our situations are entirely different. Our situations are so different. We as people are so different. Why am I comparing myself to you? That doesn't make any sense. The only person that you're allowed to compare yourself to is who you were a year ago. Other than that, I don't want to hear it. But we don't need it. Well, we don't need to compare ourselves to anybody but ourselves. If you are beating yourself from 1 year ago, then I will consider that a win. 1 year ago, you know what's coming. 1 year ago, my camera was up on that shelf over there. I'm staring at it. And now I'm here. I'm beating myself from a year ago. That's a win. Am I beating somebody like Peter McKinnon? No, of course not. But I don't need to. Because his and I situations are entirely different. Am I beating a photographer friend of mine? Of course not. Her and I's situation are entirely different. We have entirely different lives, entirely different starting points, entirely different styles and cameras, entirely different everything. There's no comparison because everybody starts somewhere, but nobody starts in the same place. The most important thing to remember out of all of this, and I have talking points over here, and I didn't use a single one of them. The most important part of this entire video is the fact that you are not living somebody else's life. You are living your life. You're living yours. Your life. No one else's. Stop comparing your starting line to someone else's finish line. Literally stop it. Because it makes no fucking sense. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You're comparing your year 1 to someone else's year 10. That makes literally no sense. Why would you ever do that? Stop it. Stop it right now. Because you don't need to do all that. You're not living anybody else's life but yours. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody. Including the people who have 5 million subscribers on YouTube, including the people who have 50,000 followers on Instagram, 1 million followers on Instagram, whatever, including the people who make 6 figures a year shooting weddings. Everybody started somewhere, including you. So we can't compare those two things because nobody is ever going to start in the same place. You know what? I had fun. I'm good with this one. I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining me here on the 3rd edition of 7 Days of Sunday. Do all the YouTube things if you want to. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Spirit moves you, you just answer that call. And I will see you tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow for another Sunday Ramble. Thanks so much for joining me, and I love you all. Goodbye.